to the winter fuel payment. Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with broadcaster and financial analyst Albie Amankona and journalist and author Genelle Aldred. Welcome both. So let's see what is on some of those front pages. Well, The Observer leads with claims that ministers are rushing to block Elon Musk from donating millions of pounds to Reform UK leader Nigel Farage. The Mail on Sunday has exclusive analysis that shows that Rachel Reeves's budget tax grab means 45 pence of every pound donated to charity will now go to the government. The Sunday Telegraph reveals that a new grocery tax designed to achieve the government's net zero targets will push household shopping bills by £250 million a year. The Sun on Sunday reports on the Christmas market attack in Germany, which left 5 dead and 205 injured. Now, we have removed some of the details of a man in custody in line with the law in Germany, where Sky News is broadcast. The Sunday Express leads on claims that budget cuts and sailor shortages have left aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth out of action, and it would need 6 months to be battle-ready. The Sunday Mirror talks to I'm a Celeb star Tulisa, who says she hid her panic attacks from the cameras while on the show. And on the front of the Daily Star, Ronnie Cray's friend has claimed the gangster killed Marilyn Monroe. And a reminder that by scanning the QR code you'll see on screen during the programme, you can check out the front pages of tomorrow's papers while you watch us. And we are joined tonight by broadcaster and financial analyst Albie Amankona and journalist and author Genelle Aldred. Thank you both so much for being with us on, I guess, the start of Christmas weekend, sort of. So let's start with the Observer. And, now just over 24 hours since we saw that attack in Germany, in this town of Magdeburg at the Christmas market. Let's look at the front page there of the Observer, and we see there was... Magdeburg mourns Christmas market dead because there was obviously a sort of people lighting candle, leaving flowers in front of the church there. Albie, what have you made of the coverage and just your reaction to the events of yesterday?
Well, I think, first of all, it is such a tragic story to be talking about the weekend just before Christmas Day, for people's families to have lost loved ones, for people to be seriously injured. Spending Christmas in mourning or in hospital is no way to spend Christmas. So my thoughts and prayers are very much with the families of those affected. In terms of the actual attack itself and the coverage, I found the coverage to be very interesting. In particular, the profile of the person who carried out these dreadful attacks. He doesn't really fit the usual profile for this sort of thing. He's a Saudi refugee, thought to be an ex-Muslim, now militant atheist. Some reports are saying he's a Tommy Robinson supporter, a supporter of the AFD, for example, not really fitting the profile of a lot of the Islamist extremists, you might say, that usually carry out these sorts of attacks. So I think lots more to come in the days and weeks ahead.
Yeah, so, I mean, the suspect and the Interior Minister said that the suspect was evidently Islamophobic, and the prosecutor as well said the motive appeared to be the treatment of Saudi refugees in Germany. Certainly a story that's been seized upon by the far right, and not just in Germany.
Yeah, no, and I think this is something that actually the far right have become quite good at when you look at this year of elections, and all that's gone on is that actually they kind of support each other. And as the elections go round, you do hear a lot of comments on people commenting on things not in their country, and this story is no different. But the AFD have actually organised a protest tomorrow. And so this will definitely be politicised, and it will be a story that goes on and on, despite, as you say, the discrepancy between who he is, what he believes, and it's seeming quite opposed in terms of his views and the complexity of his views, and yet it will still be seized on as something that I think will then have real life and world realities for refugees who live in Germany.
Yeah, and the AfD, of course, a far-right party in Germany, and Germany is going to hold elections on February 23rd, so, I mean, the timing is interesting.
The timing is certainly interesting. Germany has been through some political upheaval recently, especially the current Chancellor, Olaf Scholz. So I think it will be very interesting to see how the fallout from this dreadful attack impacts the election early next year.
OK, let's move on now to The Observer. And front page there, ministers resist rush to block Musk millions going to Farage. Now, this is Elon Musk, of course. He and Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform, met at Mar-a-Lago, I believe, last week. And there's talk of a possible multi-million-pound donation to Reform UK. Again, talk us through the details of the article and the sort of pros and cons that they put forward.
Well, Margaret Hodge, the government's anti-corruption champion, is one of the people saying that actually we need to get legislation to stop this from happening. And I think it is really interesting because once you're in an election cycle, there are limits on how much people can donate and who can donate. But we are not in an election cycle. We're just out of one. So actually, there's no laws saying that Elon Musk couldn't donate all of his fortune if he wanted to. It seems like the calls from the government are saying that actually they think that introducing rules really quickly could end up backfiring, and that actually, I don't know what they think it can backfire on. I don't think we really want foreign interference in any of our elections. But one source has also rejected the idea, saying that we'll beat parties like Reform by defeating their arguments rather than by changing the rules to stop them from getting money. But I think we've seen that money does win elections, and so whether you get a sizable chunk now or in 4 years' time, it will have a benefit to whoever's receiving the money. So I think there's definitely a difference. You know, Margaret Hodge saying we need to do this, source in the government saying we don't want to rush into it. I think we need to think about these things before they occur.
Well, Farage would definitely claim that the establishment is trying to sabotage Reform.
Yes, and I think that's the point that the government spokespeople are trying to make, and it's a point that I actually have quite a lot of sympathy with. I think if there were to be some knee-jerk reaction, changing the electoral rules so that would stop Elon Musk from making a donation through a company that runs in the UK or that has revenue in the UK, for example, X's operations in the UK or Tesla's operations in the UK, that's how he'd make the donation, not literally from him to Farage, but through one of his companies, which is why it would be legal. If there was a move to stop that from happening, I think that can certainly play into the hands of Nigel Farage, who says the establishment is against him.
Yeah, it's definitely a story that will develop in the coming, weeks and months. Let's go to the Mail on Sunday now. The Grinch is what the Mail on Sunday calls Rachel Reeves for stealing 45% of your donations, and that is what charities are saying, although I'm not sure that they call her the Grinch. And this is, again, about national insurance contributions for employees, which is hitting a lot of charities. Janelle?
Oh, no, yeah. You know, I worked for a time in the charity sector and know how much pressure they will be under at a time like this when there's a cost of living crisis and fundraising will be down. So at this time, for this they say it will add an extra 1.4 billion to wage bills and forcing bosses to decide whether to axe staff or vital services. So, of course, they are saying that this is not on. I'm actually struggling at the moment to know who the Chancellor is making happy with this budget, because I just see unhappiness happening everywhere around her. But I think when people give to charity, they give under the assumption that the money they're giving is directly benefiting someone or something. So I think for people giving, this will be off-putting to give if you know essentially you feel like you're paying another tax.
All right. I'd like your opinion on that, but let's also pull up another story from the Sunday Telegraph. Net zero grocery tax to push up food bills. So a new grocery tax, which is actually about packaging, and it's trying to incentivise producers to use less plastic.
Another tax from the Labour government. What a surprise. We were talking about one tax on charitable donations. We're now talking about another tax to push through the environmental agenda. Yes, I think net zero is something we absolutely need to look at very seriously and carefully, but it's not going to have the popular support with the people if it's going to be increasing the cost of living like this new grocery tax will. Some people are alleging it could add. The Telegraph is alleging that it could add as much as £56 onto household costs annually, according to the government's own calculations. And at this time where people are really living through a cost of living crisis, an extra £56 a year might not sound like a lot to some people watching and perhaps to everyone around this table. But to other people, that might make a real difference to how much money they have at the end of the week.
OK. Janelle, let's leave it there for now. Coming up, on the front of the Sunday Express this time, cuts force aircraft carrier HMS Queen Elizabeth out of action. We'll bring you the details in just a few minutes. Stay with us.
Who's been generous this year? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's very light. To Wilf, come on, Chelsea. I'm upset about this already.
To Anna for our next Downing Street washout.
To save your voice.
To Gareth, take that, mate.
To Mark, as your gnome for loving Chelsea.
What is it?
Love opening presents.
What is in the Secret Santa?
What could it be? I hope it's not insects. Is it to wear? The big bug catcher. So I knew something was going on, but I had no idea how huge it was. It's...
Frosty the Snowman. Well, I'm delighted it's not Chelsea related. But it's a Chelsea Football Club gnome, the very best sort of gnome.
I've got a loud mouth, I don't know why.
You ready for the election?
Oh, look.
Camping face. Love it.
Oh.
In your Gen Z way, say it was blue, mid, dank or shallow.
Half the time, I have no idea what people are talking about.
Okay. There, you trap the bug inside. Like that?
This is what I've always wanted.
This is very, very cool. Perfect for mulled wine, just the right size.
Honestly, who thought of this?
I really like it.
It kind of looks a little bit like me as well. It's very, very kind of you.
Beth Rigby, Sky News. Me and Count Binface there. Panel and Count Binface.
There you go. Happy Christmas.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
A very Merry Christmas.
From me, Gareth Barlow, and from him, Gary Barlow, a very Merry Christmas. Dad?
Cheers.
A Chelsea gnome it is. Happy Christmas. I would quite like it.
That gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts watching us live.
I'm live in Jerusalem.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
Play Sky News.
From the Sky News Centre at 7.
Now that you're up to date, we can go into a bit more detail.
Things can change incredibly quickly.
Taken by surprise.
Have you ever known a moment like this in British politics before? Yes. Cheers. We'll start with breaking news.
Let's get the latest on the ground.
So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better.
Day of this conflict.
They keep telling us that they want aid.
And this is what's left of it.
Tanks, heavy vehicle.
Why only in America? People want their country to work.
Just want a job in a normal life.
Why are these homes empty?
I want you to be honest with people.
That has happened within minutes.
Sky News, the full story first. Free wherever you get your news.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me in the studio, Albie Amankona and Genelle Aldred. Okay, let's go straight now to the Sunday Express. Their headline cuts force HMS Queen Elizabeth out of action. The aircraft carrier would need 6 months to be battle ready, whereas now HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales would be ready for active service within days. Albie, what's the story?
So the story really is one about the defence budget. And we are living in a world of geopolitical instability, of an insurgent Russia, of course, attacking Ukraine on the European continent. And this story in the Sunday Express shows that cuts are in fact forcing one of our aircraft carriers could be out of action for 6 months, and therefore military bosses are concerned that if the United Kingdom was attacked by a hostile state, take Russia, for example, they would be without one piece of military equipment that might be fundamental in that sort of defence. So there are serious questions as to whether or not Labour are able to commit to the 2.5% of GDP to the defence budget by the end of this Parliament. They've said they're going to do it at some point, but they've not made a firm commitment yet, and this just highlights why it's important.
Because we have been getting so many warnings over the past months and years that the country is basically just not ready for conflict.
No, and in a world like this, even just people knowing that you're not ready is a sign of weakness. And I think in the sense of they're saying they also can't find crews. I mean, I don't know many young people who are signing up to join the army, to join the RAF, to join the Navy. There's several problems. One, the equipment problem. Two, the crew problem, and ageing warships that need constant maintenance. So I think it does put us on the back foot, and also even as allies of others. So when people need support, are we going to be the ones that you call? And I think to have a standing in the world, you have to have a sense of that purpose and need to be able to help and support people, and I don't feel that we have that.
And Donald Trump has also made it clear that he wants all European countries in NATO to sort of up the defence budget into NATO. Let's go to the Sunday Telegraph. One of the smaller stories there. NHS spent $12 billion on private outsourcing, and Albie, this is private outsourcing to private hospitals.
Yes, so this is, I believe, actually part of the new plan of the Health Secretary to outsource to private hospitals in order to cut down some of the dreadful hospital waiting lists that are blighting people up and down the country. But, of course, if you're going to be outsourcing operations to private contractors, that's going to cost a lot of money, and that's what this article is about. The NHS is spending £12 billion on private outsourcing. I think it's quite interesting when Wes Streeting proposed this idea. Everyone in incredibly papers like the Telegraph on the right were saying this was a good idea, and now they're reporting talking about how expensive it is. So it's quite difficult to solve the problems that we need solving.
Not a total labour. It's been this 12 billion's and they've been in the past year. Some of that was the previous government spending as well. I don't think it's a new thing that they're outsourcing this, but it has a 12% increase spending over the past year. So yeah, I do think Labour needs to sort it out and we need to have a think about it. It is more expensive when you outsource. But I don't think this is just a Labour problem in the making. This is a long-term problem in the making that needs a proper solution.
But it does feel like the NHS just can't cope.
No.
And this is a way to help the NHS cope, because ultimately the Health Secretary and the Labour government have a choice, and I wouldn't be sit here defending Labour very often, but they have a choice. They either leave the NHS in the state that it's in, or they come up with innovative solutions to solve the problems, and one of those solutions is by using the private sector to get the waiting list down and get people back into work. It seems like a reasonable idea to me.
OK. Let's end on a lighter note, or a more sort of Christmassy note, I guess. The Sunday People, front page. Bad Cindy is back, and this is Michelle Collins, and this is, of course, EastEnders on the Sunday People. Now, Albie, you didn't know who she was, but Genelle, you totally did. So explain the story to us.
So, I mean, this is EastEnders. I remember growing up as a child, every household would be watching EastEnders to hear what the big storyline is. People coming back from the supposed dead and all kinds of other things, and they're doing it again with Bad Cindy. And going around social media at the moment is that meme of when Max and Stacey's affair was discovered and they were all watching it around the most cringe moment around the video camera. We're never going to have those moments on TV again, because what are you watching on Christmas Day? Beyonce?
I'll be watching Beyonce on Netflix, the NFL special.
Yeah. And we just have so much more choice on Christmas Day. I don't know what EastEnders could do to bring people back to watch, but this is their ploy to get old-timers like me to get a bit of EastEnder nostalgia and maybe tune on Christmas
Because
Day.
the audiences used to be staggering. I'll tell you the one that I remember from Christmas used to be the blind date special. And you probably don't even know what blind dates are. But I remember that used to get about 18 million viewers. That's basically a third of the country watching one thing all at the same time, which is just unthinkable now. You're just nodding.
I still think there are a lot of people who tune in to EastEnders just on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
I know I watched EastEnders on Christmas Day last year, for example, because I always know it's going to be a very spicy episode, and then I might watch it over the Christmas period when I've not got much else to do. But as soon as I'm back to work in the first week of January, my soap watching drops off completely. So I think we will still see large viewing numbers on Christmas Day. The question is, will it sustain for the entire year for linear broadcasters like the BBC?
I never even know who the characters are, so I can't watch on Christmas Day because I feel like I don't actually know what's going on. But no, I think they're never going to get the numbers that they used to get. I think the market is just far too saturated. Not far too saturated, it's saturated. Yeah. But let's see.
But I'm on air on Christmas Eve for News at 10, so feel free to tune in. Albie, Genelle, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for having gone through the papers with us. Let's take a quick look at the weather now. And very strong winds could affect your travel plans on Sunday. Things become more settled next week, but will also turn unseasonably mild for Christmas. It will be a cold and windy start to Sunday morning with severe gales in the north and frequent blustery showers. Some of the showers will be wintry with sleet and snow, mainly over the northern hills. The rest of the day will be cold and windy with a mix of sunny spells and heavy showers, mainly in the north and west. Some of the showers will be wintry over the hills with hail, sleet and snow. Now, even in the sunshine, a marked wind chill will make it feel much colder. A longer spell of rain and mountain snow will affect northern parts of Scotland through the afternoon. The strong winds and blustery showers will ease on Monday to leave a brief window of settled weather before the next cloudy, wet and windy spell moves into the west. That leads into a breezy and mostly cloudy but very mild Christmas Eve. And coming up next on Sky News at 11. The suspect in a car attack on a Christmas market in Magdeburg in Germany is named by local media as Talib A, a 50-year-old doctor from Saudi Arabia. We'll have more on that story and all today's other news at the top of the hour.
Jubilation in the streets, while some emotional.
This is a political victory for Prime Minister Modi and his Hindu Nationalist Party.
I'm Neville Lazarus and I'm Sky's reporter based in Delhi. Companies like these are helping India in its trajectory to be a serious player in space exploration. Sky News, get the full story first.
We've got your Sunday mornings covered. From the front page and the sounds of the streets to the voices of the people who make the major calls and big picture politics beyond Westminster. We'll put you at the heart of our story. A new start to Sunday.
I'm ready. Are you?
Join me, Trevor Phillips, Sunday mornings on Sky News.